My mom and I have both had the travel bug since as long as we both can remember. My mom has traveled to all 50 states and had opportunity to make several overseas trips before she was 21. Since then, she and my dad have helped me and my sister visit almost all 50 states ourselves. To adventure beyond the USA has been a dream for some time, but it always seemed like a one day if ever idea rather than an attainable goal. So imagine my surprise when one day while leafing through a travel magazine, I was once again saying, I really think we need to plan a trip to Europe. And this time my mom said, okay, let's do it. And she was dead serious. Fast forward 18 months, hours of research and planning and honing down the itinerary, and my mom and I were soaring over the Atlantic Ocean at 40,000 feet, diving into a 26-day trip in Europe. As my dad liked to tell people when they asked why we were going to see what we could see. Little did we know just how much seeing would be packed into the next 4 weeks. So here's the proof to ourselves that all of this really did happen in real life, and hopefully a little inspiration for you too. St. Augustine once said, "The world is a book and those who do not travel only see one page." I hope this inspires you to see more than one page during your lifetime. God created an amazing place for us to live during our days under the sun, and to explore it is to see more of what He made and more of who He is. So fasten your seatbelts, we're preparing for takeoff into a whirlwind of new experiences, a good bit of craziness, and one big adventure. As a filmmaker, I wanted to bring all the proper equipment to make an epic travel video. But time and space were sadly too short, so most of all the footage you will see in this series was taken on an iPhone. Those guys are surprisingly little workhorses when it comes to video recording, let me tell you. Both my mom and I identify as foodies, and we knew there was a plethora of new food experiences waiting for us, but we also knew that there would be an airplane meal in between. The travel-sized meal in the sky was surprisingly not terrible, but it did make us anticipate the European menus even more than we had previously. So which countries in Europe were we setting out to see? Though originally we planned to visit Italy, Austria, Switzerland, France, and Spain, it quickly became evident that there was not enough time. Therefore, our itinerary focused on Austria, Switzerland, and France. Oh, and itty-bitty Liechtenstein. The flight from the States was only around 8 hours, and the airline was kind enough to help us adjust to the new time zone by serving breakfast promptly at 8 a.m. destination time, which also happened to be 1 a.m. stateside time. Though there wasn't much rest during the night, it was worth it to be awake during the course of the flight, just for the view of the countryside far below. The mountains were especially beautiful in the morning light. Our layover point between the States and Vienna was Fiumicino, Italy, so we did end up spending a few hours in Italy and traveling a few miles on foot, but both were mostly in the Fiumicino airport. Suffice it to say, though helpful, most people speak little English there, and Italian airports, like the other parts of Europe, apparently have very little signage or clear information to give travelers a sense of direction. We'll skip the hour of being lost and fast forward to the bus ride out to the town of Fiumicino. It was quite the experience in itself, as the bus seemed to have taken many a traveler along that route, and it told us so through creaks, bounces, and rattles.
Our much long waited for lunch.
In Fiumicino, we stopped at a little food stall for lunch and enjoyed stretching our legs and soaking in the sights of the Mediterranean seaside, where the sunshine is hot, the sea is blue, and time seems to slow down completely. After a return trip to the food stall for gelato, we missed our first bus, but thankfully caught a second one to the airport only a few minutes afterwards. A few airport queues and a quick cat nap later, we were airborne once again for the final leg of the journey to Vienna, Austria. The Vienna airport was one of the calmest and quietest airports I've ever landed in. It was relatively easy to navigate and a nice contrast to the experience we had in Fiumicino. In Europe, because train travel is so prevalent, the train stations often run below the airport, so it's fairly quick work to get from one form of transportation to the next. Unfortunately, we went all the way down to our train and then had to retrace our steps because we missed the OBB station the first time through, where it was imperative to activate our train passes. This was not the only time we would have opportunity to see the same things in Europe twice in the space of a few minutes.
Here we go a second time down this path. We finally got our rails activated so we can actually get on the train.
This would be the first set of train miles on the 1,500 plus mile journey across the 4 countries. Train travel is pretty nice, we found out. Lugging our carry-ons off and on, not so much, but manageable all the same. Before long, we and our trusty luggage pieces were on our way to the heart of historic Vienna. By this point, we had almost reached our final destination of the night, and as the escalator had us stepping out at Stephansplatz, it felt like we walked into the middle of the 1400s. Hello, Austria.